On July 3rd, in line with the mass exposure of harassment in the Smash community, notable commentator D1 was caught up with allegations that he had assaulted a woman named Katie Dominate on her 18th birthday party. D1 is most commonly known for being the face of the Melee commentary team and is considered to be a very big name in the Smash community. If you've ever watched a past Melee broadcast, you've probably heard his voice. The guy was literally in a Nintendo promotional video for their Smash Bros. Wii U tournament in 2014 as well. So moving on, Katie Dominate released a tweet longer in which she opens the document by claiming that she had been assaulted. She says that she had been hurting for years and this is her courage of coming out. On November 11th of 2016, she says this day is probably the worst time of her life, her 18th birthday. She says that she had the pleasure of attending Smash the Record, a favourable Smash event for many. She then goes on to say that everything was fine until one party where there was lots of dancing, a lot of alcohol, and a lot of bad decisions. Dominate then goes on to say that she's not coming out because she wants him to be cancelled. She imagines that the 3 years since this occurred, they have both grown as people. But she's instead coming out because she was never brave when she was younger and scared of him, scared of the judgment, and scared of people not believing her. She then exclaims that she took his forced apology as a stopping point and closure for herself. She then says that she'll try to get this out quick as it's 5 AM and she's crying because she can't handle the PTSD. So the story goes like this. She went to a party accompanied by her friend Jessie, better known as MVD in the Smash community. MVD was her hotel friend at the time. There were many people at the party who she knew from the Smash community and was having a ton of fun drinking and dancing. She also says that MVD was keeping a close eye on her too and was always protecting her. She says she was very drunk. As the night went on, she consumed more and more alcohol, and at one point, D1 came up to her asking her to dance. They started dancing, having a great time until D1 asked her to go with him. He then led her to a hotel room which she doesn't remember and says that she does remember having nothing on her at the time. A dead phone, no ID, no room key, no diabetic supplies, nothing. She says that she was completely vulnerable at this point. The next thing she remembers is she was then having intercourse with D1, and the next flash that she remembered was she was vomiting everywhere. She didn't remember kissing him, getting undressed, nothing. But she was naked, vomiting, and soon blacked out after that. The next morning, around 5 to 6 AM, she woke up to a cold room alone. She put on what she could find and walked around the hotel for about 30 minutes crying. Everyone was still asleep. Katie somehow made it to the hotel lobby and a sweet brunette lady gave her a key to the room she was initially staying in. She got back to her room where Clyde and MVP were asleep, she showered, took a nap and then changed. They then go to a tournament venue where she exclaims that people all of a sudden won't look at her and that people were snickering, laughing and whispering which she thinks was about her. She insinuates that she believes D1 bragged about the night. She says that he told everyone that we had sex and that she was disgusting, vomiting all over you like some cheap whore that got passed around the community. She never consented to one thing, but he made her out to be some cheap whore. She then fast forwards to Evo. At this point, she had separated herself from the community the best she could. At this point, she's now dating MVD. MVD tried to mediate a conversation and apology from D1 at Evo, and she says that instead she got a forced, half-assed apology from him. After that, she stayed silent about the whole thing and went on with her life. She then ends the tweet longer stating that she should have been braver at the time and she should have been angrier. And after seeing D1 posted yo at 2:30 in the morning in response to the mass amount of allegations arising, she felt the need to come out with her story. Now, about 5 hours after her statement came out, D1 then took to his own Twitlonger post to explain his side of the story. He starts by addressing the fact that there was a statement regarding Katie Dominate at Smash the Record 2016. He says there are numerous accounts about what transpired at that event, but he sadly woke up with zero recollection of what happened the next morning. He says that he was at a party with everyone in the ballroom, but woke up the next day alone in his room and the bathroom being in disarray. He couldn't remember leaving the ballroom nor when she had left his room. He woke up with a splitting headache and never moved from his room since he had to call the hotel cleaners for the bathroom. He says that's what makes this situation difficult for himself. He can only take KT Dominate's story, and when MVD reached out to him in regards to the apology, he was shocked as he'd never been in a situation like that before. He had no memory of what happened, so he was beholden to them and their story of events. He wasn't even aware if he had sex until MVD told him what happened. He goes on to say that when he heard the story, it pained him greatly and he was scared beyond belief to even speak to her since he doesn't remember what happened. Since KT Dominate and MVD were going out at the time, he was fully aware that his story didn't carry much weight, so he decided it best to validate her feelings and apologize to her directly at a past EVO event. D1 then paints the picture that he spoke to MVD and ESAM prior to the initial talk and apology. He says that the conclusion the three of them came to was that Katie Dominate and himself were not sober at the time and couldn't remember the situation clearly, so that made things nebulous as he wasn't able to consent either. He also says that the reason why he never spoke about the situation was because he could only go off what other people had told him, which is why it was hard for him to admit fault when approached by MVD. He then addresses the idea put forward that Katie Dominate said he had bragged about the night to people. He flat out denies this and says that he never engaged in he said she said talk. He also goes on to say that the morning after, when another Smash player who he doesn't name came to his door and asked what happened, he responded with, "I have no idea." He ends his tweet longer saying that there are two sides of the story and this is his. He was dealt a shitty situation where he can't defend himself and can only accept the realities that others have brought to his attention. He never bragged about her to anyone, and this was a situation where he himself couldn't consent and woke up to a nightmare scenario. He apologizes to everyone and says that he never intended to put anyone in a situation where they had to feel silenced and suffer in isolation. He begs everyone to please understand that this is not who he is. After this occurred, D1 was then banned from 2G gaming events. Katie Dominate also quoted his Twitter post stating that he lied and that no apology will ever take away the feeling of his body overpowering her own. MVD also shared a screenshot of his Twitter DMs with D1 2 weeks after this again occurred, where he thought that D1 should apologize to Katie Dominate, but D1 then wrote back, "I'm good fam, I wouldn't press the situation any further." Hey guys, it's the narrator here. So my channel is dedicated towards giving you all clear and concise information regarding events trending in the gaming world right now, whether that be drama, scandals, or misconduct that has occurred. No 15 to 20 minute ramblings giving hot takes that could be done in like 5 to 10 minutes. So please consider subscribing and liking the video if this is something that you're interested in. Cheers. So here's essentially my opinion on the situation. If you don't feel like hearing what I have to say, then feel free to click off of the video now. But personally, I think that upon reading both sides of the story, everything seemed to sort of add up in defense of D1. There was some inaccuracies as well that I'll address. First of all, Katie Dominate going on to say that MVD was protecting her and watching over her at the ballroom party. But where was he when D1 whisked her away out of nowhere? Felt that was really weird. But it can happen, at the party there's heaps of people there. Well, obviously people are going to be like in the way of you, not even, if he's drinking as well, he's not going to be able to fully, hold her hand throughout the entire night. But the fact that, people were buying alcohol, being like, how old are you? Oh, 18. Well, the legal drinking age here is 21. But here's some alcohol. It's just like weird. Coming from Australia as well, the legal drinking age in Australia is 18, so I tend to think that being 18 it should be fine, but again, since it's the States, it's completely different, so it is what it is. The second thing was that she spoke about how he bragged about it to other people. And it's been roughly about a week since this all occurred, and nobody has came and said anything about how he bragged about the situation to them and whatnot. And it seems like from D1's statement that he never mentioned it to anyone, seems to hold true since this is the case. And it just seems like pure speculation from Katie Dominate's part. But kind of where it all crumbles apart for D1 for me personally is, and it makes his apology look like trash, is where MVD shared his post with the screenshot of his DMs with D1. And in the Twitter post, MVD states that D1 had cried and sobbed in his arms multiple times begging for forgiveness. And for those of you wondering why I think that's so bad, it's more to do with the fact that you don't say those things to someone if you truly believe you're not guilty of what happened, at least in my opinion. But yeah, hey, look, at the end of the day, these are just allegations. It's for the court to decide at the end of the day whether or not, one person's story holds true compared to the other person's story. And quite frankly, if it's two adults, and I say adults because I truly believe that once you're 18, you are an adult at that point. At least in my country, that's the case. I think, if it's a matter of two adults having sex while drunk, then I think, in the scheme of those things, I think that is kind of fine. And I don't mean fine as in, you know, oh, well, if someone's drunk and the other person's drunk, then it means that it's okay for them to have sex. But like, if the story comes out in the end that they were both really blackout drunk and neither of them could consent, but they did it anyway, and the recollection from both of them is very, very bad, well, then it's hard to find people at fault at that point, because it just comes down to he said, she said stuff, you know? And again, I can't reiterate enough the fact that they both come out and said like they don't even remember what really happened that night and how they got to that point. Yeah, it's just a really screwed up situation. So yeah, I hope this video has been informative for you guys. And again, I appreciate any likes and subscriptions to the channel. Helps grow it a lot. And you know, put a comment down below. What do you guys think about the situation? Cheers.